Heyo, outliers. Niiamah Sean here. I kind of wanted to like dance into this space. I felt like I'm like, how can I like shimmy in? I didn't shimmy, but I still got my shimmy in. Right. Thanks so much for listening to the Outliers Edge Roundtable. We got two incredible outliers and trailblazers that are here to play and not just share their expertise, but to share their experience and about how they are navigating being an outlier and a trailblazer themselves right now. I would love for you to get to know them. So why don't we do this here? Chuck, we're going to start with you. I framed this in a way for you to give you space here, right? Tell us
Okay.
more about you and the game you are currently playing.
Ooh, that is such a wide question. Thanks for having me on, Niiamah. Karandeep, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Chuck Hawkins, born in the Bay Area, California, East Oakland to be exact. I always say that because if you're from Oakland, you say Oakland instead of Bay Area. My background is corporate training, coaching, and mentorship. So for the past 5, 7 years, I've held the title of podcast owner and entrepreneur. I have, man, been on the stage with phenomenal entrepreneurs. So I'm glad to add this to my resume. Probably most famous person that I've been on stage with is Les Brown. He calls himself Mama's Baby Boy. I had a one-on-one training coach with him. The game I'm currently playing uh, is real estate. And I am absolutely loving this new experience for me. I've owned properties for the better part of my adult life, lost some in 2008, uh, got my hand burned, took me a while to jump back in there. But what I've done now is partnered with a childhood friend, and we have been teaching people all over the United States how to get started investing in real estate with no ads, no money of their own. Like we are literally growing this thing from the ground up. We've grown from 0 to 100 people. They all have multiple doors through our program, and it's been fantastic, man. So I'm learning and coaching, learning and coaching.
Chuck, something I get about you is that like no matter where you go, learning and coaching is what you do. All right, it is it's who you be. So thanks for bringing that in here. I'm excited to see how we play with that in real time here. All right,
Absolutely. Thank you.
awesome. Karen Deep, do you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're playing? Karandeep, for some reason, I just lost your audio here. Can you
Hi,
repeat it again?
perfect.
All
I'm back.
right.
Sorry about that.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karandeep, and I'm based in Stratford-upon-Avon, Warwickshire, UK. And in terms of the game I'm playing heavily in the medtech industry. So in terms of what I do, so if you ever create a medical device, anything with a medical purpose, if it's diagnosing, treating, or anything like that, you are stepping into a very heavily regulated industry, and that's what I support companies with doing. Usually, I like working with the small startups, one with the crazy ideas, the ones that are actually going to impact the world. So I don't always just like working with the big giants, but if I genuinely see that there's going to be a product out there that's going to change the world for the better, that's usually the kind of company that I work with as well. I also host a podcast like yourself as well, which is called the MedTech Podcast, where I also interview outliers and trailblazers, etc., in the industry. And it's a platform for them to share their industry, how they got into, and what they're doing. So the game that I'm really playing is I'm trying to help bring these medical products onto the market, and I'm also helping to share the stories of the people of why they enter this industry and why people, if they're interested, should enter this industry because we really need a lot more people in this space. We need a lot more medical
Yeah.
products, and why not? Because it's making the world a better place to live.
Karandeep, I appreciate you being here. There's one thing I enjoy is about like the energy you bring in about like kind of growing the pie here. Both of you have this element of like, hey, let's grow in here. And what it's
Yeah.
taking me to is a conversation I had just the other day with someone who had done 6,000 podcast interviews, and he was just like, everyone should, like, I want to get everyone. Yeah, Chuck, I see you. And I thought I was hitting it. I was like, all right, we're at 800 now with this thing. We have a daily podcast. I'm gonna bring it down to three because it was too much. And at the end of it, he said to me, he's like, yeah, I'm like, what's going on, man? Step up your game, right? And I say all that because the energy he brought was around like he's like, I really believe everyone should be out there like to get their story out there. You know,
Mhm.
and Karen Deep, there was something in what you just said here that I also felt like, oh, this is the same kind of energy. This goes beyond I'm looking for clients, you know, to actually like lead in with the mission that's on their behalf. So I want to start off with that here in this space here because it's a distinct way of growing your business, and I think that and growing the impact you have simultaneously. I'll start with you, Karen Deep, just because you brought it to my attention. I also heard you, Chuck, also had some things on it. So why don't you share your experience with leading with mission, growing through something with mission, especially when been like most people may not know about it to start out with. And we'll use that to start off the conversation and we'll see where the conversation evolves.
Sure. So when you are usually working with startup companies, it'll be a founder who's usually passionate about what they do. So it's not like I'm not saying big corporate companies don't do this. It used to be something like in my industry, a physician who saw that there was an issue with the healthcare industry, or maybe they thought there was a better solution, and they started working on that product. And reality is when you speak to these kind of clients, you see the passion coming through them. They're not just there to just chase the money. Yes, the money might be one aspect of it, but they really want to see this product come to light, and usually it's through personal experience. Maybe they had a family member or a loved one and maybe went through a certain condition and they just saw a better way of doing it, or maybe they saw some issues with patients suffering a certain way and they thought to themselves, hey, there must be a better way to do this, and they actually took the initiative to go out and do something about it. And you can just share that passion with them. And then I love working with people like that because you can see the passion coming through their work. Now if somebody's just purely in it for the money, they're just going to do the minimum amount possible. Now when you work with a founder like that, you see the energy and the drive that they have. You can see that they're super tired, but they're still sitting on your call with you till midnight, and they want to do everything properly. And I say, hey, look, we need to get this level of testing. Like, okay, great, Karandeep, you tell me what we need to do to be compliant, and I'll make sure you got this. I can pick up the call and call this guy at midnight. I can call this guy while he's sitting with his family and children, having dinner, and he'll stop everything that he's doing. And I don't encourage that behavior, by the way, but he'll stop everything that he's doing and he'll be like, okay, Karandeep, what do you need? Let's do this. Constantly messaging me, hey, Karandeep, how are we getting on with this submission? And I think that's the difference when you work with somebody who actually wants to be there and really enjoys what they do, compared to somebody who's just sort of turning up because it's paying the bills, basically.
Yeah. I like that. I'm sorry. I know, Niiamah, I know you're probably going to jump in with a question, but I love the difference in there, Karandeep, that you mentioned, because like I just had a conversation with a mentee the other day, and I was telling them to redefine their why, basically, because their why was filled with these buzzwords. And the buzzword, I want to leave a legacy and I want to do this and I want to do that. And I'm like, by definition, a legacy is creating something that you're never going to see. That is not motivating. You got to fall in love with like the process, right? And again, that's a buzzword, but you have to love the part that makes you get up and build every day. And so to work with a founder that is that bought in is phenomenal. It reminds me of that show Billions. I don't know if you've ever watched Billions, where Capital Axe is always on. I don't suggest that either, but I absolutely love watching it.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up Billions because I think about Wendy, right? And a lot of times, one
Yes.
of the things that was really lovely about having Wendy there was like I was in the coaching space and it was like she brought a very practical element to it all, right? It was
Yeah.
like people came to like I want a Wendy on my team, and
Yeah.
going back to this element of uh the part of that almost feels like visionary, right? Be like in like the element of saying like, hey, you may not have known this was possible. I think that at the
Hmm.
end of the day, I'm gonna put this out here. Yeah, I'm gonna say this. All right. We'll see how I feel about this in 30 years as my career continues. But I think that at the end of the day, as entrepreneurs, a lot of times they say like we're problem solvers, but I think we're possibility creators. We're
Mm.
creating something that's like it's like, did you know this was also possible? Did you know that like we can help you with the regulatory things and have this out there and have that be done? Did you know that like you could have like the opportunity of owning real estate and being able to create like a future based on like I think that there's something in there and there's a lot of problems along the way, but there's
Yeah.
there's something in there. Where I'm like, yeah, as a consultant, I'm a problem solver. As an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, though, I think I'm a possibility creator. That might be semantics, but like I think that there's power in the difference here, just based on how like passion and vision has already come into this conversation. What do y'all make of that?
I think um I think the semantics is close, but it's definitely about vision, right? It's impossible to start anything, launch anything, bring anything to fruition without seeing it first, right? And the value that you create and bring to the market is literally going to be based on the vision that you have, right? The vision that you have for your next self, the vision that you have for the next part of your own evolution. Like for myself, never thought I'd be coaching people in real estate, always knew how to do it, never thought I'd be coaching people to do it. But the vision is, this is your only option for most 9 to 5 people, right? This is your only option to create wealth. Like you can trade, you can do XYZ. All wealth ends in two places, right? Wall Street, real estate. And so if you can teach people how to do that, that vision creates, the value that you can then turn around and bring into the market with the money that you've created. So the semantics, I mean, yeah, but it makes sense.
I love it. Karandeep, what's coming to you on this one?
So yeah, I'm very much in agreement with Charles on that one as well. So again, it's you got to kind of make sense and you got to have the vision to it as well. So it's kind of having the understanding is one piece, but then having that vision. And I feel as though the vision is what drives that growth. I'm pretty sure both of us, like all three of us actually in this manner, have had points in life where, though, maybe this is too much. Maybe I'm not on the right path. Maybe I want to give
Last
up.
week.
Yep.
This
It
morning,
happens,
go
but
ahead.
then
Keep going.
it's that vision in your head, that vision that you built up of the successful business or what it will bring you or the impact that it will have. And Charles and I can relate to you as well because I've only recently this past few months got into teaching what I do. So again, never did I think that I'll be teaching people. I just used to quietly get on with the work and that's what I'm doing. And then a company approached me
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, Karandeep, like, would you be happy to teach people?" And I said, "You know what? Let's give it a go.
Yes.
Let's see what happens." And it was crazy because the first time I was teaching, it was from like 9 till 5, and then I'm teaching the course. I'm like, oh wow, it's already 4:30, and I didn't realize that how much I would actually enjoy teaching people.
Yeah. Yeah. It passes quick. I think, like, depending on the style of teaching, some people do a one-on-one, some people do courses or whatever the case is. But if you love not only the subject, but if you like people, let me say this. If you like interacting with people for a purpose, because I think all entrepreneurs have this like cutoff, right? We like people, but there's definitely enough. Like, all right, I've had enough people today. But if you like people and what you do, I think teaching, it goes by fast. Anytime I'm in front of a room, and Karandeep, probably the same thing, Niiamah, when you're in front of the room, the first 10 minutes is slow, right? It's like, oh my God, while you read the room, get the energy, all that stuff. And then after that, you look up and the hour's gone by, right? 2 hours have gone by, and you're like, oh, let's break for a minute. Let's log off for a second. So yeah, I'm a fan for myself of situations like this, where I get to sit with people that are in different industries and learn from their experiences. Um, Peopling is different though. Peopling is different.
When you say people and it's different, I'm kind of curious about that because I got when you're talking about like teaching and going through this, I'm like, it made me actually appreciate what I do because I'm like, yeah, we came in this room like 25 minutes ago, y'all didn't know each other unless y'all are like have been chilling, right? Right. And so
Yeah,
so every time I come in, I'm like, oh, I wonder who's gonna show up. One, because I have more people on the calendar than sometimes do.
sure.
Um, and then the other part of it's I'm really curious about how this is all going to work out. Like every time I come in, I'm like, good, let's see. And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh, we got to wrap up this conversation right now because
Yeah,
somehow we got here once again.
yeah. For me, really quickly, I always say it like this: the best part of what we do is that we're in the people business. The worst part of what we do is that we're in the people business.
Candy, you said something that I think would be a really fun place to just like jump off and see where you're going because I think about different outliers and trailblazers out there and like their path has been unconventional. Like the number of people I talk to that have multi-passionate, multi-dimensional, multi-hyphenate, there's just so many things here. And you said something, never did I think I would be teaching people. We focused on the teaching people part of it. Now I want to go on like, never did I think I would be. That part I think is really interesting. So why don't you both share a little bit of like some areas in your world where you're like, this was not on my like list of things that were gonna happen, but like the opportunity showed up and either I created the opportunity or I took the opportunity when it came up there. I would love to hear some of that for you. Either of you feeling anything come to mind for either of you two?
I suppose for me, it would be my career path.
Mm,
My background was actually in pharmaceuticals. I didn't even realize that this concept of medical devices even existed. And how I actually ended up on that path was just like any student. I just come out of college, and the first thing I did was try and find the first job that I can get in a related field. And it just
Mm.
so happened to be a medical devices so it's a manufacturing house where not everybody wants to manufacture their own medical devices for various reasons. So they'll go to a manufacturer to make it for them. And I'm sure that happens in other industries as well. And it would just so happen that I found this industry just so exciting, basically. And I thought, wow, there's so much diversity in this field. There's all the way from a contact lens to a software to a pacemaker, hospital equipment. It sort of opened my eyes of how big this industry was. And then I kind of just, I'm not going to say I made it up as I went along. It's just where I saw opportunity, I just sort of went towards it and then led to the path that I am now. If you read my career history on paper, it looks like, yeah, Karandeep definitely had his stuff together and he knew where he was going and every step was calculated. But reality, the situation is I just took opportunities as they came along.
I love it. I probably got the complete opposite. I went to school, went to college for all of maybe 2 months, and then my professor said something that just disqualified me from college forever. He told me that if I did exactly what he was doing, that I can make what he makes as an adult. And I was probably 19 at the time. And I asked, politely, because when you say that now, money is, I'm a Capricorn, right? So money is my thing. And so, how much do you make, sir? Just so I can set my own expectations. He told me he made $36,000 a year. This was in the 90s, so he wasn't doing bad. But I was selling luxury cars at the time as a car salesman, and I was doing that, every quarter. And so when he said that, my natural reaction closed the book, and I graduated early, as I like to tell everybody. My career path completely different. I had to go the personal growth route. Um, and one of the things my mentor told me is how you do anything is how you do everything. And because I didn't have the degree, I felt like up until recently, I felt like I had to outwork everybody. And not until recently, maybe the pandemic, beginning of the pandemic, I realized it's not necessarily outwork, it's outproduce and outlisten. Right. And for me, the
Can you
more
say
that I
that one
was
more
able
time? Outproduce, and out what?
outproduce and outlisten, right? So a lot of people's favorite radio station, again, I'm doing what I hate doing is buzzwords. What's in it for me? WIIFM, right? But it was more so listening to the people that had the ability to put me in position, right? And listening to their stories, seeing what I could learn, seeing what I could adapt. And every career jump or industry jump that I've had in my career was literally due to the relationships that I was able to build. I don't think I have, looking back, maybe one or two scenarios where I've outworked anybody. I think I've outproduced in that, I've become a fan of doing what takes other people 3 hours to do, doing in 20 minutes. Like, because I've learned, right? Not necessarily, I can't jump into Karandeep's industry and do what he does, right? But I can out resource somebody else if we jump in at the same time, right? Because I'm going to leverage the network. I'm not going to leverage and lean on my own work, my own understanding, all that stuff. First thing I'm going to do is call Karandeep and say, hey, this is what they asked me to do. What do I need to do to get this done? What are the pieces I need to put in place? And I'm going to work backwards on that. I never thought I would be in this specific spot, but as an outlier, trailblazer, I knew that I would be the equivalent. The how and the where, I don't know if it ever really mattered. I just knew that there were things that I wasn't going to do.
Now, I hear this, and there's a few things. One, Chuck, I just want to say thank you because you reminded me of me. You helped me remember myself. And one of the things that's really showing up right now is an internal component of. I've always been one that leveraged people, right? And like that was my strength. My strength was like bringing people in,
Yeah.
bringing people together. And for a long time, like when I was back in like my corporate life here, it was I felt like I can see a bird behind you and what you have. I felt like I was flying, you know? And recently, and I've been upfront about this because I feel like this is just a chapter of my life. I'm like, I feel like now I'm running, but I'm slower than everyone. I was flying above, saw these people running, came down on the ground and said, huh, I have legs. I could also run. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Started trying to run. I realized that like my little bird legs weren't gonna like keep up with everything else that's out there. And
Yeah.
what the reason that this is hitting me, Chuck, is that uh for a long time I internalized it as like I just wasn't like I'm not a good executor, like it's me, some things are off, so on and so forth. And what I'm coming back to the realization of, it's cognitive. It hasn't like hit fully embodied yet. So
Yeah.
you'll notice a difference in the business, and the way I show up. But what I'm realizing is I flew when I had others as wind. You know, it was like not
Mm,
doing it alone was the key. Everything was possible because I wasn't planning on doing anything, but I knew that it had been done or that there were people out there that could do it. And when I hear you about being like out resourcing, that feels really real. Like there's
yeah.
a component of this thing. I talk to outliers and trailblazers as though we are out, like we're independent, isolated people. But I'm like, no, actually, we can be really connected. That's part of probably what helps us be so successful. Curious what comes up for either of you on this. And it could, you don't have to respond directly to this. It might just be anything else that's flowing to you.
Karen D, I'll let you go first.
So yeah, very much. I mean, the term that I've often heard is headwind. It's sort of people can be accelerators in your life, or sometimes they can also be the brake pedal in your life. So if you want to move far, you want to accelerate. However, just like with anything, you don't want to accelerate too fast unless the road is suitable. So maybe that's
Yeah.
the analogy that I would give. And you don't want to accelerate in the wrong places. You want to accelerate in the right places. And if
Yeah.
there's a cop on the highway, that's not the kind of place you want to be accelerating because it's going to get you in trouble. That's probably the place where you want to press the brakes, right? And I think that's the same thing. So I wouldn't say it's negative with sometimes people put the brakes on your life. It could be somebody puts the brakes on your life because maybe see your health declining, or they maybe see that you're
Mhm.
neglecting your loved ones. So in that case, it's a great thing that somebody's put the brakes on your life because they made you realize. And again, it could be that in the other way that you're moving towards something and maybe a mentor accelerates you, gives you that right connection. So yeah, I think both my opinion with both of you guys would be here is people can be accelerators or brakes, and that can either be a positive or a negative, or in some cases that negative could be a positive in a sense. Like if somebody slows you down in business, maybe that's more time that you got to
Yeah.
spend with your elderly mother or your elderly father or a loved one or a friend that you otherwise would not have done. So even though the experience initially was negative, it led to a
Yeah.
positive experience.
Yeah. It's funny that you ended it that way, Karen Deep. The word that comes to me, I think that all entrepreneurs and outliers deal with is balance, right? And to your point earlier, the phone rings and you answer that founder answers or whatever the case is. We try to do everything. And Nehemiah, I think, you mentioned it earlier, as we're on this island because we're the only ones that have this vision, right? And this vision we have to own and we have to execute. And I remember I had a guest on one of my podcasts a while back. Her name's Amber Aziza, and she says, who do type A personalities even ask for help? Right? Your friends and family always say, what do you need? How can I help, man? I know you're stressed out. You don't get it. I can't ask you, right? Like, because I can't even figure out what the next step is. To your point about I was flying and I had headwinds that people were helping me. Now I'm down here running. There are people so much faster, and then you internalize, am I good at this? Am I even doing this correctly? And I think the difference from what we're doing and where Karandeep is, Karandeep has a structure around him in terms of its medical devices, so it either plays in this world or it doesn't. But there's still the same hurdles and pitfalls and XYZ. There's still those same dangers. For us, it's we're the content promoter, we're the coach, we're the curriculum designer. Like we're trying to do all these things, and balance is something that I think we need to. I don't know if it's even managed, man. You guys tell me. I don't want balance. I want the results because if I get the results, then I can relax later.
I love
But
this.
we don't have forever. So
I'm loving this here. Yeah, Karen Deep. So Chuck asserted something that may or may not be true about like the way that your business work, right? So I love the element of structure. And he's like, hey, look, like Niiamah, me and you, we got this thing going on. Karen Deep may have something different. Let's just check in first and see like
yeah, because I could be way
how
wrong.
true is that? Yeah. Let's check in and see. And then then we might be like, oh, there's a different way. Karen Deep, just calibrate this. You might be 100% on, but like what do you hear? Where might have gone on?
I do real estate as a bit of a side hustle, and I would say that I can very much relate to the business.
Yeah.
Again, I may not be dealing with again the same sort of direct issues, but I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn because again, as Chuck was talking about earlier, we're people in. That's the business that we're in. It's all to do with people. And again, Chuck is not selling property to people; he's selling a dream to people, or a vision, or their dream home, or their dream business or the commercial
Mhm.
business that they want to set up. So again, I feel as though we're still just dealing with people, but just maybe
Yeah,
in a different way.
yeah.
This is cool. Like, there's something that's coming up for me right now, as you say, like vision here that takes me to enrollment, right? So, like, I love to talk about like how you all enroll your clients. In particular, I think that like when I talk to a lot of my clients, they typically they'll be like, I need more people, like I need more leads, right? And if they're like, and then something will come up where they're like, I don't really want to sell because it feels icky. Like I don't want to promote myself because it feels icky. Like there's kind of the word icky. Whenever I see like I'm like icky has not been used really in like a positive way. Like icky is an interesting word as I say it out loud now. It's probably the most I've said it in the quarter. But it's like it's not quite. It's not like it's not strong enough to be bad. It's just more like it's not good. But it's not like
Yeah.
it's not strong enough to be bad. Like I'm like icky is just not that. It's not that helpful of a word. But there's that's my opinion on this one. But there's something here when you're talking about a vision and peopling and so on and so forth that I feel like it takes me to leadership, but it also
Mhm.
takes me to enrolling and selling. So I think that like I look at leadership as enrolling. So I look at it all in one bucket. Curious here, what that brings up for you, how y'all navigating, especially for any outlier that's out there that's thinking like, this could be a bit icky. Like I don't know how to self promote. I don't know. Like, what have you found from your experience that has helped you be successful with it or continue now?
Um,
Yeah, then don't feel rushed. Sometimes like the podcast space comes
yeah.
in, we're like, oh, we got to know right away. Like I like to model, like, hey, we can think about things.
I don't what's coming to mind for me is two-part, not being attached to the results.
Hmm.
Um, helps me manage my expectations in terms of enrollment because in my particular course, what we do at the Win Blueprint, is a one-on-one thing, right? And so I equate that to sports. And while I know baseball is not the most popular sport, you can go into the Hall of Fame in baseball with a 300 batting average lifetime, meaning out of every 10 times you get to swing a bat, seven of them you get out, right? Three of them, it could be a single, it could be a home run, it could be a double. If you get on base, your percentage over a lifetime can get you into the Hall of Fame. So for me, it's managing knowing my numbers in terms of my conversion because I'm in a one-on-one space, and then not getting attached to the results, right? Like there's a million stories about how many people Steve Jobs told about Apple or whatever the case is, and everybody said no. There's a million stories of the McDonald's founders and Ray Kroc or whatever. Like all those stories are out there. Um, knowing your numbers in terms of conversion is huge. And I feel like in the space of social media where you have to post and advertise and ads and yada, 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 that can make managing your own expectation about numbers and conversion more anxious, which gives icky because now you're uncomfortable and you don't feel like you're doing enough. Um, but for me, it's just knowing your numbers, right? If I know if I talk to 100 people, 10, 15 are going to say yes. That's all I need. That's all we need to be successful. Word of mouth is still the best version of advertising. Results are still the best version of advertising. There's an old saying, facts tell, stories sell. Stories still sell. And anytime you can produce results for someone, especially someone that didn't look like the typical success story, you're good.
So I'm coming alive with your response there, Chuck. Um, yeah. Yeah, it was funny because as I asked this question, and Karen, you're probably curious about your thoughts on this too. As I asked this question, I was like, Chuck did let us know he was selling luxury cars at 19. So I'm really curious about like he's been at this and he's like, you dated, you put the dates on it, right?
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
so I'm like, he's been at it.
Now
He's
they're
been
gonna
at
start
it.
counting
So
the gray hairs on the
yeah.
screen.
No
They're
one's counting
there.
up we know our numbers, but not the number of gray hairs. That one we don't have. But but I like so I have an economics background,
Okay.
and behavioral economics is like what really lit me up. I think is why I do what I do,
Mm.
and so it puts a smile on my face where it's like, yeah, know the numbers, and to be in this place of like it's not a numbers game, but it's a numbers game, you know,
Right.
and to be able to play in the both spaces, there's something about it that I think allows it to be a lot of serendipity, a lot of openness in it. But at the same time, it's like like we don't know who's going to be here. But
Yeah.
out of the 100, the 15 are here. The
Yeah.
15 are here. Karen Deep, what comes to you about anything that Chuck said, anything about like leadership, enrollment, sales? Just wanted like for any outlier out there that's like stuck in this right now at any level of it, I'd be curious what you think.
So my business actually grew by just putting myself out there. It didn't actually start with the idea being, so I knew I wanted to go down the consulting path and this is what I was going to do again, because this is what I was doing in my full-time career, but I wanted to do it as an individual through my own business. I just realized that when I went out there and I wanted to learn about regulatory affairs, there was all these complex regulations online, etc., and it was very confusing to learn. So I just started making video content on it. I would go out and get the most complex
Mm.
topic in the medtech industry, which would take you hours and hours to learn. And it was one of those topics, the more you dug into it, the more confused you were. So you actually left the end being more confused than what you started with because there's so many moving parts. And I just started making simple 2 minute videos. What does regulation mean? What do you have to do? Just from a top line where somebody from outside the industry would understand.
Mhm.
The side effect of that, of course, was the CEOs and founders who didn't like regulations. Is that well, the Karandeep clearly knows what he's talking about, so let's bring him in. So sometimes a lot of people have this doubt in their mind. Again, I wasn't an expert at that point. I was just basically looking at a complex topic and then bringing it down into a 2 to 3 minute video. And I think with a lot of people out there, we live in this digital era. If we go back to the time of our grandparents, they would have had to travel all around these different places. Go. I'm not saying that networking events don't happen anymore. We're like this conversation we're having right now. If we went back to our grandparents, they never would believe that there will be people from different parts of the world that can just jump onto a call and there's video and all these sort of things. But we live in this digital era and we have so many things around us. And I feel as though a lot of people are just not utilizing it properly. The fact that you can just from a couple of clicks straight into a video call from somebody, I mean, our grandparents would have wished for something like this. It would have made their life so much easier.
I'm loving this on multiple places. One of them just says like, hey, in this moment, recognize like the gifts that we have, right? I like to think I'm like, if I really got what Facebook was back in 2012, like this whole thing would have been so, but like you could sell anything at that time with ads, like
Yeah.
and no one like people weren't jaded, like it was all this stuff. It was cheap. People weren't jaded. Like you don't need an email list at that point. Just go straight and sell it. Like 10,000, you got the answer because like it wasn't available. That things weren't available. And so I like to think about it and say I like to hold in my heart. This is the cheapest it's ever going to be, right? This is the cheapest it's ever going to be. This is the easiest it's ever going to be, right? And it's not to say that things might not get cheaper, might not get easier, but like if I can play from that and be like, now is the time to make the move. I'm like, Chat GPT, I can spend $20 and get all of this stuff, right? Like I remember when Netflix was like, I only had to spend 20 bucks. I was like, this is great. Why do I need cable? I have 20 bucks, I get everything. And then eventually it all kind of compartmentalized and we're back at the cable. I pay two cable bills now, basically,
Right.
when you bring it all together. And I'm like, the opportunity is here right now. And to your point, Karen Deep, it's like how much like this is our own gold rush. It's just that we just don't like, but we're living it. We're living it
Yeah.
right now. It's like it just doesn't make sense how like inexpensive things can are right now. That's what I'm trying to think. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it still costs a lot, like there's still, but like there's still costs a lot. Like I think about this even with like talent. Someone said like, hey, look, great talent. You might have to pay them 3 times more than like the difference between an A and an A plus person might still be 3 times more, but they'll bring the business 10, 20 times more. Going back to the element of passion and like skill set and so on and so forth. So there's things that are running through here. I'm gonna bring in one last thing, and then I think, yeah, I think we have time for this. Then we'll start wrapping the conversation. Um, both of you two just brought in something here around speed, right? Chuck, you directly said like, "Hey, I think I can just like get you the results faster." And then Karen Deep, what I heard from you when you're talking, you're like I would go do all this work for other people, to figure out the complexities of all these things, and I would distill it down into a 2-minute video, right? So I'm really curious here. I don't want to like ask like a question about speed per se, but I feel like it's like the context of it. What's calling to me is it's really around the the work done to become good enough to deliver quickly, you know? Like, because I'm thinking about this care deeper, like I went through all these things, I was learning all this stuff, and I was able to say it in 2 minutes. I'm like, how much work, like how good do you need to be? How much do you have to understand this to be able to be like, yeah, you're gonna see all this stuff. This is what they really mean. Call me if you want if you want me to do it for you. Like easy, So like I'd like to talk about it from a bit of that perspective here around like what does it actually take to deliver high quality results faster than others in the market. I'm really curious about what y'all think about it.
My
Karandeep?
view was to work in micro increments effectively. So a lot of people, again, I don't know if anyone's been a student. I know Charles, you only went to college for a couple of months, but again, what do most students do, right? We sit down the night before and try to cram in all of this stuff, 8 to 9 hours, and then go and sit our exams, which is like the stupidest thing that we do, right? We keep putting it off. I think the best way to learn something is just do it in small increments every single day. So I'm guessing Charles, same with you as well. When you started first learning about real estate, you will learn every single day. You keep learning something new, and then the accumulation of a year, you have that great knowledge. But it wasn't something that you could just learn in a 1 week crash course, right? You had to spend
Yeah.
time trying to get to learn the bits. And I think realistically, it's just working in those micro increments and setting a time. I mean, it's as silly as it sounds to some people. I just say, hey, look, you want to learn something? Great. Lock an hour a day in your calendar. That's an hour where you don't look at your phone, you don't look at social media. And something so simple can have a profound effect because if you spend an hour a day, that's 365 hours in a year. That can really give you a lot of knowledge. You can learn a lot of things in 365 hours. But, trying to do something like, hey, I'm only going to spend a weekend and I'm going to spend 10 hours doing it, it's probably not as efficient as just doing a little bit every day because the way that the
Yeah.
human mind works, I find sometimes you sleep on something. I'm pretty sure both of you guys have been in this situation where like something's really bugging you and you think, how do I deal with this? And then you maybe go off, you go for a shower, you go to the gym, or you sleep and you wake up with only going, I know what to do now. So sometimes our minds need time to process things. And I don't think as though you can just sort of cram everything into one session.
I love how you package that. The incremental knowledge is absolutely huge. And I think that, yeah, I can't even add on to it because that's how all success works, right? Whether it's batting practice or football practice or, learning finance or whatever the case is, the experiences that you have build up and they build upon each other. And then you're able to talk about, XYZ from a place of experience and knowledge, and it's all incremental. Um, Absolutely agree. In terms of delivering speed and quote unquote, Nehemiah, allow me to paraphrase the ability to promise out execution, right? Or being able to do something quickly. The only thing I will add to Karandeep's amazing answer on that is knowing who you are working with, right? I don't necessarily have um, mentees or students in my program that already have $1 million portfolios, right? Because then we're talking about different things. We're talking about portfolio loans and we're talking about leverage and we're talking about NOI and all those different things. But if I'm talking to people that are looking to start their real estate journey and create their portfolio, then I can say, if you do XYZ, you will have your first property in XYZ, right? I can promise that because I know I have the structure and the resources and the connections and the team and everything built up so that you can execute this idea and this plan and this vision that we have for you, that we've agreed upon. This why that you say that you've had, we have the structure set up for you to do that. But it's because, to Karandeep's point, we've done the incremental learning. And we know that if you do XYZ, you can get these results. Similar to when I taught my daughter how to ride a bike. The way that I taught her was to basically treat it like a scooter on one leg, lift the other leg up and balance, right? Get to understand what that feels like balancing on that leg. The next couple days, we did it with the other leg. And then we did it with both legs. And you run and you jump on the seat, keep your legs up, right? Just so that you can understand the balance part of it. Then we introduce pedaling, where most people introduce pedaling first. And why I can't pedal if I don't know what balance feels like. I don't know what that is. And so for me, it's just incrementally, like Karandeep said, the knowledge that you have, and then the experience and knowing what you're good at, and then being able to identify um, the skill sets or the strong suits of how your student or how your mentee or how your founder learns or receives information. So back to being in the people business, right? You have to know the person that you're dealing with.
You know,
I think
I think we're in a good place right now. I think we're in a good place to wrap up for today. Like this felt really good. Y'all, first just thanks for the energy you brought in. I feel like this was an energy lifting conversation. So thank you. All right. Secondly, I'm gonna talk to you outliers and trailblazers. Like this conversation with Karen Deep, Chuck, and myself, it wasn't meant to just live here. All right. And so to the elements of this here is like there are, let me put it this way, this is how I want to say it. In this conversation, you've been able to see how two people have gone out and taken like a mass amount of knowledge and experience and be able to distill it down into like 30, 40 minutes for you, right? So like it in the spirit of us being able to share things with people in a more concise and to get them the results quicker, I want you to think of one person in your life who would really, really benefit from this conversation. Feel free, send it out on your socials, let people know about this all together. That's definitely helpful. And I think underneath, in terms of the impact part, not just reach, but in terms of impact, like where this is going to come in to really play is for you to think of someone who would really benefit from this conversation in particular and send it to them as a gift. You know, I imagine, and here's the thing, you probably are listening to this conversation because someone thought of you. And my ask is that you just continue to pay it forward, right? One conversation, like one person, one conversation at a time. I think that's all we need to really make a big impact out there. All right. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing this game here. We're gonna end here with two things, Charles and Karen Deep. Uh, I'd like for you to share with outliers how they can go deeper down the journey with you specifically. And I ask us that we to share one insight that you are leaving this conversation with. We'll put outliers to the side for now, and just focus in on like in what way. Basically, anytime I have a conversation, it should transform. Like you should leave here better than when you came in. All right. And so like share with us, and if nothing like that happened for you, you don't have to like make anything up. But like uh, let us know the way for us to go deeper down the journey with you and what insight, if any, you got from today. Um, Chuck, why don't we start with you and then we'll wrap with Karen Deep.
Yeah, Chuck has hustled across 95% of social media platforms. Probably should have changed that by now, but everybody knows me by that. Today, the thing that stuck with me the most is that you don't have to be an expert to have expertise, and your results will only be as good as the vision and the value that you bring to the table. Karen Deep's been phenomenal to listen to your insights, and I wish you absolutely nothing but success, man. It's been great to watch you just deliver so slow and succinctly. It's awesome, awesome delivery. And Niiamah, thanks for the platform, man. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, glad that you're here. All right, thanks for doing the work that you do and for playing the game you play. All right, Karen Deep, how about you? How do we go deeper and what insights, if any, you got?
sure. So if anybody wants to go deeper, they can find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, they can find my podcast, etc. And I think the key takeaway that I'm gonna have today is not to get too attached to the results and just keep focusing on the work and that the results will follow. I think that'll be the key thing because sometimes we look at metrics and results and we start thinking something's not working, but we don't stick at it long enough to actually see that result. Sometimes we have to stick it out and see how it goes. So yeah, definitely that'll be the key takeaways again. And Niiamah, I'm gonna say, like, you have changed my train of thought sometimes in doing this podcast, the way you've changed some of the questions. So maybe I think I need to think deeper sometimes and not maybe just go ahead with the answer. I find sometimes I'm too keen to answer things, but sometimes I maybe need to have a step back and have a deeper think about it. And then, as I mentioned, Charles, the key takeaway that I had from you, as you mentioned earlier, is not to get too attached to the results and just keep doing what you need to do as long as it's in the right direction.
Karandeep, let me just say really quickly, I want to receive that like there. I did not anticipate that, and I appreciate it. Like, I think it's a really big gift for people to reflect back and to be able to be seen. That's something that really hits me. Y'all, this was a phenomenal time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much for bringing your experience, your expertise, and your time and giving of it so generously here. Outliers, until the next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.